So, if you're a fearful avoidant attachment style, or if you know a fearful avoidant, the following pattern probably sounds extremely familiar. You start and you are coming at your relationships often from a place of feeling first unworthy. And so you feel like, okay, I have to overgive and under receive just to feel like I'm worthy of this person, of this connection, of this friendship. I need to make sure that I am doing and being and giving more than I am receiving. And in doing that, you feel safe. So then you start feeling, okay, like I'm doing this, I'm worthy of being in this relationship. But eventually, that hits a tipping point where you start feeling taken advantage of and frustrated. Like, hold on a second here. Why am I always the one giving and doing more? And so you hold it in, you get more and more resentful. And eventually, as a fearful avoidant, it comes out as volatility. Almost like a volcano erupting. You get frustrated, you get angry, you get harsh with your words. Maybe you say something where you kind of lash out a little bit, and then you feel terribly guilty when the dust has settled. Maybe a couple hours later, you're like, oh my gosh, why did I say that? That was mean. I feel badly. And you start feeling anxious, like I want to fix this. And so what do? You go back to overgiving and under receiving as a means to make up for your guilt. And then the cycle continues and continues. So I call this our fearful avoidant boundary cycle. And it is something that fearful avoidants struggle with so much. But one of the roots of this is that the fearful avoidant attachment style struggles not to feel guilty in the first place. And so if you're already feeling guilty about setting boundaries, no wonder that also contributes to the cycle. Not only is that core wound of unworthiness, which by the way, we talk about a lot on this channel and how to rewire our core wounds. Not only is that sponsoring a lot of the behaviors, but on top of that, this part of you that is in a cycle of feeling like, wait, if I set a boundary, I'm going to feel badly. I'm going to feel guilty. I'm going to feel like I didn't show up for somebody or like they think I'm a bad person. Then you're stuck in the cycle of like, okay, here I am. This is why it's so hard to set boundaries. So in this video, we're going to break down some really key points, 3 or 4 key points here about how to set boundaries without feeling guilty. Okay, first and foremost, we have to be able to perceptually reframe what the purpose of a boundary is in order to get rid of our guilt. Okay, so what I mean by this is that if you see a boundary as a disconnection, a separation, then of course you're going to feel guilty because you're going to feel like every time you set a boundary, you're actively separating from somebody. But I want you to try to perceptually reframe it as this, okay? Because this is the truth. This is reality. If you are only basing your connections with people, you're only building relationships with people based on when you feel like saying yes, you're only saying yes to things compulsively, you're never showing somebody your wholeness, right? You're only showing them your good side when you're aligned, when it's a yes for you. You're basically pretending to be somebody that a lot of the times you maybe aren't. But if you're building a truly authentic connection with somebody, that means that you're going to tell them your yeses, but you're also going to tell them your nos. You're going to be like, yeah, I don't feel up to doing that today. Can we stay in instead? Or, you know what? I'm not able to do that this weekend. I really need to unplug and recharge. If you're able to share your nos with somebody along with your yeses, now you are suddenly in your actual truth. And now you can build truly authentic and aligned relationships, which means that boundaries are a joining, not a separation. Boundaries are actually bringing you closer together, not driving you apart. And so boundaries don't end relationships, boundaries preserve them. And healthy, secure people not only do that effectively, but also healthy, secure people do not leave when you express your truth. They stick around, they see you better, they get closer, and they are better to able to take you into consideration long term. Okay, which actually builds trust in that relationship. So that's number one. We have to start seeing it as what it is, not as what your childhood probably conditioned you to think of it as. Oh, if I set a boundary, I'm going to get in trouble. Or if I say no, then I'm going to be punished, or I'm going to be abandoned, or people are going to think I'm not good enough. Like we have a lot of stories around boundaries, and that's ultimately what prevents us from setting them. Number two, if you want to set boundaries without feeling guilt, that means you have to figure out exactly what your story was. Okay, so I have a little mini exercise for you on point number two. If I set a boundary, and I want you to fill in the blanks with this in your mind, if I set a boundary or say no to somebody, what do I make that mean, or what am I afraid will happen? And this is actually a way of pulling up subconscious information and making it conscious. And usually what you'll find is it's things like, if I set a boundary, then somebody is going to think I'm a bad person. Or if I set a boundary, then they're going to punish me and I'm going to be unsafe. Or if I set a boundary, then everyone's going to reject me. Nobody will actually like me if I say no to them. And it's like, hold on a second here. Try to think about this. Think of people in your life who do set boundaries. They're like, I don't feel like doing that. No, I'm not going to be able to do that. you usually respect them more, if anything, and like want to be their friend, right? It doesn't go the way that we think it's going to go. But the reason we think that, the reason we think, oh, we're going to be abandoned or we're going to be punished is usually because that happened in your upbringing first. So you've been conditioned to think that that's what a boundary gets you. Oh, if I set a boundary as a child and then I was punished. Okay, well, now here I am, and I set a boundary as a kid, I'm punished, then I feel like I'm unsafe. So then I equate setting boundaries to being unsafe. And then as an adult, I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to be prepared to fight if I go into setting a boundary because I think I'm going to be unsafe. And so that's your conditioning. That's not reality. Does that make sense? Like, I want that part to be really clear that just because that happened doesn't mean that's objective reality, especially around secure relationships and secure people that hopefully you're trying to build towards. It just means that that was your reality for a period of time, probably because you were exposed to unhealthy and unjust at times circumstances. Okay. With people who were doing the best they could with what they knew at the time, too, right? It's not like everybody's fault and we don't need to blame anyone, but having the awareness that there's a difference between your experiences versus the truth, it can be really meaningful. Okay. So you want to be able to figure out what that story is. And then step three, you want to be able to challenge it. Okay. Can I 100% know that every time I set a boundary with any person in my life, my new friends, my healthy relationship, that means that I'm going to be unsafe, or that means people are going to think I'm a bad person, or that means people are going to think that I'm only worthy of rejection. I'm not worthy of anything if I'm not saying yes at all times, right? Like, notice how deep that story probably runs for you. And I want you to question it. Try to find evidence to oppose it. Are there people who can set a boundary and still be good people? Generally, some of the people who are the most good people are people who are good at setting boundaries because they have a healthy sense of self. And so they can extend that out in healthy ways to others, right? So even look at times that when I've set a boundary, I've been accepted, not rejected. Or when I set a boundary, I was actually loved instead of unloved, or whatever opposes that painful story you filled in your blank with. Okay, step three. Number four, here's the next way to set boundaries, okay, without it feeling like, oh my gosh, guilt. One thing that you want to practice doing is something called exposure work. And what this means is you can't like jump in and, if you've never set boundaries your whole life or since you were a young child, and now you're trying to set boundaries, you can't like start with your narcissistic boss, right? You can't start with like a big scary figure. You have to start with somebody small and easy. And this is called exposure work. It's doing things in very, very small incremental doses and then starting to build that momentum, seeing like, oh, it is possible. I can do that. I just did that. And that could be like setting a boundary, like asking your really good friend at work who you trust for your stapler back. It can be something so small. Hey, you borrowed my stapler. Do you mind just remembering to bring it back next time that you borrow it, right? Just little tiny things like that can go a very long way. Okay. So it's another really, really important piece to pay attention to when it comes to actually setting your boundaries. I'll tell you one last really important point. Okay. That will make you a great boundary setter, guilt-free. But when you do practice exposure work, it will help a lot. But before I tell you this last point, which is arguably one of the most important ones, something that you can check out if you struggle with boundaries, or if you're somebody who's like really codependent and enmeshed, you don't even know where your boundaries are or how to identify them, is our boundaries, codependency, or enmeshment courses. Okay, we have a boundaries course and then a codependency and enmeshment course. They ideally go really well together. You can check them out fully for free for 14 days, which is more than enough time to get through both courses. Each course is like an hour and a half long, comes with a workbook you can print out, all the materials. And it's because we are doing a 14-day free trial. We do this twice a year. And we're doing it now for the mental health month of May, just for part of May, just for a limited time. So I will put that link down below, and that will be so useful for you to start setting boundaries, which will be crucial for you to actually build the best relationships of your life, where you actually feel seen and known and connected to people in your truth. Because when you're just saying yes to people all the time, you're not actually connected as your authentic self. And then you'll feel like people don't get you or see you or care about you because you're not telling them what they need in order to consider you. Okay. The last major piece here is that you need to understand that when you don't set boundaries, you betray yourself. And if you want to go the whole rest of your life betraying yourself, you're going to see a huge diminishment of your self-esteem. You're going to feel like you are not worthy. You're going to feel like people, just like I said a second ago, don't see you, understand you, hear you. And if you do start setting boundaries, you make yourself, your needs, your truth matter. You're allowing yourself to take up space. You're building self-trust accordingly. And that will actually help you learn to trust other people. Because when you share your boundaries and then people respect them, you're like, oh, I can actually trust people. This starts to make sense. Boundaries do not push love away. They teach you how to receive it in a way that's actually safe. So that's it for today. I hope this makes sense. This is such an important topic as a whole. Let me know your comments down below if you want to see more content like this, if you want to talk more about codependency and enmeshment. I hope this was useful for you. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to this channel so you don't miss any of the cool offers we have on free course trials, free courses you get to keep for life sometimes, all these exciting things we have going on a daily basis. So make sure you hit that subscribe button, and I will see you next time.